Good evening, everyone. I hope that you are all well and that you had an amazing day thus far. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for the Effective Growth Institute, the club level and beyond. I believe in starting on time, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our program this evening. I'm going to start by calling the events to order. In true Toastmasters fashion, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance as well as the district mission. Starting with the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we will recite the Toastmasters district mission. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Now, I want to quickly go over the objectives for our training this evening. So we have three different areas that we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about new members and talk about some best practices when you're looking at prospective members, as well as training your new members. We'll then go on into a deeper dive into the club level, so components of an effective club meeting. And then we'll cap it off with talking about district leadership opportunities. So first, we're going to go ahead and kick off talking about new members. So when we think about prospective members, they kind of look like this the first time they come to a Toastmasters meeting. They aren't sure where to go. They don't know what they signed up for by visiting your clubs. All they know is they have an issue and they're trying to figure out how to solve that particular issue. So when we think about the journey for a prospective member, it always starts and involves these four different steps. One, there's that moment of awareness. So that person is saying, hey, I really need to work on my public speaking skills, or I could use some honing of my leadership skills. Then moves into the evaluation portion of the journey. So they start looking for ways to help with that particular need. So what are my options for helping become a better speaker? Where can I go to help me hone my leadership skills? They then go into us attempting to have them join Toastmasters. So during that phase is when we've told them all the benefits about Toastmasters. We've really dug into their why and what they're looking for, and they have made that conscious effort to join our club. Last but certainly not least is one of the most important steps in that prospective member's journey, and that's support. So we're offering support at the club levels to help hone those leadership as well as those communication skills. That could be by us assigning a mentor at the club level or making sure that that person is moving along on their pathways journey. But every step in the process, we're supporting them along the way. Now, one of the models that the Club Growth team has this year is putting them at rest. This goes for prospective members as well as for brand new clubs. So what we want to do when we're putting members at ease is, one, we want to relieve the pressure. So we don't want to come off hot and heavy like a used car salesman when we're pushing Toastmasters. We want to relieve some of that pressure off of them and really allow them to come to the conclusion of how Toastmasters is beneficial to them. Two, once we get them to join our Toastmasters meeting, we want to blow their minds, right? We want to exceed their expectations for anything they may have thought that they could get out of Toastmasters. We want to go above and beyond for that guest when they're attending that club meeting. The third thing is we're going to share our story. There is nothing more impactful than you talking about your journey and how it's brought you thus far within Toastmasters. So we want to share our testimonial. Let them know the accomplishments we have been able to achieve while being a part of Toastmasters. Then last but not least, once we've gotten that why and got them to join the club, we want to teach them Toastmasters. We want to teach them the way of how meetings should be run successfully. We want to open their eyes to the opportunities that they have at both the club level as well as beyond that, going into the district level. One of the ways that we can entice our prospective members into joining our club is by providing them with vital information as soon as they join one of our meetings. So I want to throw a question out to you all, and you can drop your answers in the chat. I may call on a few of you to provide some answers, but why are guest packets important? Why do we need to give guests anything when they come visit our meetings? Why isn't it just good enough for them having visited the meeting and that be it? Any thoughts? So you can drop those in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to come off of mute and tell the group your answer. So any thoughts on why guest packets are important? Well, I like that, friend. Tangible encouragement. I love that terminology. So they have something that they can actually feel or even view if it's a virtual guest packet. Cheryl, so they can look over the information they may not remember. So everybody may not be able to absorb everything that has happened in that Toastmasters meeting. With a guest packet, they have something that they can take away and bring back to their recollection later on. I love Candace. Candace said the information speaks for itself. I love that. So that they can take away information that they can read on their own, and it all makes sense, and it can bring them to the conclusion of why Toastmasters may be beneficial to them. See a couple more. Crystal says it gives them something to take back with them, so they can take it back with them, as well as they can share it with those that they encounter. So it's a way for them to promote Toastmasters where you're not having to touch everyone that they meet, but they have something in hand that they can share as well. Bill, oh, I like that one, Bill. Avoids out of sight, out of mind. So it's something memorable that you can leave with that person. So they don't just say, huh, yeah, I did go to that Toastmasters thing that one time. I can't remember what it was, but it seemed to be kind of fun, maybe. But they have something that keeps Toastmasters at the forefront of their mind. I love it. So thank you all for all of those amazing nuggets of wisdom that you dropped inside of the chat. When we think about guest packets, there are a couple of things that you should find essential to add inside of your guest packet. One, you want to make sure you have a cover page. So that cover page is going to say the name of your club. You can add on the times that you meet. So they have all of that information about your club right at hand. That's the very first thing they see as a part of that guest packet. A nice additional touch is a welcome letter. You can have that signed by your president or whoever your club sees fit to have signed that letter, but it's really welcoming them and thanking them for coming to your club and visiting and providing any other vital information that you think is appropriate inside of that letter. You absolutely want to add something in there that goes over the benefits of Toastmasters. For all of the amazing reasons that were dropped into the chat, we don't want to be out of sight, out of mind. We want to make sure that they don't feel like they have to remember every single thing that was said during the Toastmasters meeting. You want to be able to give them that in that guest packet. It's also really important to have information about pathways inside of there. So they need to know, how are they going to grow from an education perspective by joining your club? We also want to show the uniqueness that we have with pathways and the different paths that they're able to take. You also want to make sure that you give some hints about leadership inside of that guest packet. Not everyone joins Toastmasters simply for communication reasons. There are individuals that come and they want to become better leaders. Maybe within their place of work, they're looking to become a manager and they need to get some managerial skills. We all know that sometimes you want to advance to a different role, but you don't have a way to get that experience that you need to move to that role until you're there. Toastmasters is a great supplement for you to get that managerial experience. For example, if you're a club president, you're navigating a team, you're helping work to reach a common goal, and that equates over to and translates very well into the workspace. Last but certainly not least, you must have a membership application. Yes, I am saying must. We must ask for that member to join. I found that a lot of times when people have visited our clubs, the one thing we forget to do is simply ask them to join. Now, I know at times that might be the more uncomfortable part of the visit, but it's really important in order for us to grow membership that we include that application and we give and extend that opportunity for that particular prospective member to join our club. There are a couple of resources that I've added on this page, and I will make sure everyone that joins this call is able to get a copy of this deck. But I put together a Google Drive folder that has some examples of things that you can place inside of your guest packet. So there's a myriad of attachments. If you're meeting in person, you can simply print out the ones that you like and go from there. If you are still meeting all virtually or even hybrid, you can create a digital packet. So there are a lot of different softwares out there that can combine PDFs. Adobe is one that I use often. So you can take all the PDFs that you like inside of that folder, drop them into the merge function within Adobe or any other software, and it will create one singular PDF for you that you could send around to those prospective members that come to your club. Toastmasters also has a very nice digital guest packet on the World Headquarters website. So you can go on there or send your prospective members there as well. So that can be sent via a link inside of the email that you do as a follow-up, or you can send it in advance if you know that you're going to have particular guests in advance as well. Now, once we get that person to sign up, it's really important that we show them the ways of Toastmasters. The best way to do that is through new member orientation. The reason why we want to conduct an orientation is because the road within Toastmasters once you join looks a lot like the picture that you're viewing on the screen. You're excited about joining, but you have no idea how you're going to get from point A all the way to the end of the light down there in point B. How do you accomplish your goals? What should you be thinking about doing first? It's really important that we show and motivate our new members along their Toastmasters journey. So what we're going to do this evening is I'm going to go through a new member orientation packet. I'm going to go through this a bit quickly just because there's a lot of pages inside of there, but I think it's really important for us to take a look at a new member orientation presentation so that we can talk through the importance of the slides and you can kind of pick and choose what really works for your club. World Headquarters has a great new member orientation presentation that you can download and then you can modify to make sure that it meets your needs. The one that we're viewing today is one that I have modified a bit significantly just for the clubs that I'm a part of and added in little touches that I thought would be important for my club. So we're going to go right into the presentation here. So as you can see, it starts off with a nice, very simple kind of cover slide. I put example Toastmasters because we're using this as an example for new member orientation. The first slide that I've added in for orientation is really talking about the prospective member. Well, now they're turning into a new member, I should call them. So we want to talk about what their objectives are. This is really important for the leadership team to gain right off the bat, because them telling you what their why is what's going to help you motivate them and make them an active, keyword is active, member of your Toastmasters club. So there are two forms that I really like. One is a new member profile form. The other is a member interest survey form. So both of those two forms gain valuable data from your new members that can help you understand why they joined Toastmasters and what they're looking to get out of it. So within a new member orientation, you want to make sure you obtain that information from that new member and you spend some time talking to them about what their goals are. You also want to let them know that you're there to support them and ask them specifically how you can help them meet your goals. This is a really great question because everyone does not learn the same. As we're all a part of a Toastmasters club, we all move and navigate through the program very, very differently based on what we're trying to get out of the program or where we're trying to go otherwise, like in our career, for example. So it's really important to ask that question, like, is there anything specific that you need help with? Maybe that person may say, hey, sometimes I'm a bit timid and I really need a little nudge to get me going in order to participate. That's key information for you to have as that member progresses through their journey. You also want to find out how they kind of goal set and set timeframes. So do you set them on your own? Do you like a mentor to come in and help you with a game plan? What works best for you? Again, this is going to be very beneficial for all of the club members because that's going to give you keys and clues on how that new member functions and how you'll be able to acclimate them to your club's environment. I don't think we can have any meeting without having the club mission somewhere in the mix of it. So it's really important for them to understand what our goal is as the Toastmasters Club. So going over the club mission, making them aware that this is something that we say and recite at every single meeting because of its importance is really important right from the jump at new member orientation. It's also important to go over the Toastmasters promise. Now, this is listed on the membership application. Some of you are probably like, really? I just remember signing and looking at the fees that I was going to pay, but it is listed on there. I promise you it's there. But it's really important to reiterate the expectation that the club has of its members up front. Again, we're looking to build active club members, and a part of that activeness comes from us making sure they understand their responsibilities as a member and what will be expected of them. It's also good to go over the Toastmasters International core values. So letting them know in everything that we do, from meetings to events, we're always going to uphold these 4 characteristics, because that is the heart and that is the base of Toastmasters. Now, these next couple pages can be optional. You typically have this conversation with prospective members and let them know what Toastmasters is. I always like to reiterate, I think hearing it more than once can never harm any situation. So just going over what the organization represents. When was it founded? How large is the organization? That's really important to share with new members. And you can always add a fun touch by adding some pictures from your clubs or different events that you have put on. That adds a nice touch to it as you're going through your new member orientation. You also want to review why Toastmasters. So again, tying back what the benefits are that that member will gain from being now a member of your club. So we talked about sort of their goals and what they want to get out of it. We talked about our expectation with the Toastmasters promise. Now we're going back to reiterating the benefits that they're going to gain now that they have said yes and have joined your club. Toastmasters International has a lot of great opportunities for leadership. I will say, when I joined Toastmasters back in 2015, I don't think I knew what an area director was until probably 2 years later. I think it's really important to show people where they can go and how they can expand their leadership skills, just as much as we talk about the communication piece. Remember, not everyone has joined your Toastmasters club for the same reason. There are some people that are there for the leadership component. How great would it be for them to understand that there's multiple levels within the Toastmasters hierarchy, and then explain how they fit into it all? I think that is really important to do at the beginning of their journey as Toastmasters. You can also add in the club officer roles. When we think about prospective members, these are going to be the future leaders of the club, or at least that's what we hope they will be. We hope that they will grow to a place where they will raise their hand and want to sign up for one of the 7 roles that we have. So why not give them the information up front about those leadership roles? You can personalize it and add pictures to it. That way they can put faces with names. I found that to be really beneficial, especially for clubs that are meeting virtually. You don't necessarily have that one-on-one FaceTime for people to get to know one another. It's really nice to have a face with a name and then have one slide that gives you an overview of what all of those individuals do. You could also add another slide if you wanted to introduce them to district leadership. So if you wanted them to know who their region advisor was and their district director or their program quality director, that's another slide that you can add so they can start getting familiar again with that hierarchy, as well as understanding what those roles are responsible for within the district. Since we're going to be asking them to participate in our meetings, we want to make sure that they're aware of what happens in a Toastmasters meeting. Now, I know that prospective members have some varying visiting schedules that they may be on. You may have someone that has visited the club 4 or 5 times, or you may have someone that visited one time and they knew right off the bat that they wanted to be a member of your club. Either way, you want to revisit the format of a Toastmasters meeting. You really want them to be aware that, yes, we're going to have prepared speeches, we're going to have table topics, there's going to be evaluations, and the meeting's going to get evaluated as a whole. Again, reiterating that all the pieces of the puzzle are as much important as the next. You also want to give them a brief overview of the agenda. So this is typically how the meeting flows. Now you understand how and what parts of the meeting that we have. This is now a sequential look at typically how most of our meetings will run. You can always give the caveat, hey, every now and again, we like to do a little bit of variety. Maybe we have a backwards meeting one day. Maybe we have a table topics extravaganza the next. So there are opportunities to shake and move with this agenda. But I really think it's beneficial for you to show how the meeting will typically run so they can start to understand how all of the roles fit in together. It's also important to make sure you outline the responsibilities of the meeting roles. So on this slide, I have a little blurb about the Toastmaster of the day and what those responsibilities are. I think it's a nice touch to have that on the same page as the agenda, because the Toastmaster of the day is the MC of the meeting. So they're going to need to make sure that we're moving along in a timely fashion and that all things are getting completed as we're running through the program. I'm going to quickly go through these next slides. Again, these are just reviewing the meeting roles. So we have the speaker and the timer on the slide. The next slide is the grammarian / odd counter. Some clubs separate those roles, some combine it. So you can pick and choose whether you want to separate and break it out into individual responsibilities or not. We also have the table topics master. I include a word of the day example. So whenever they're a grammarian, I let them know, okay, you want to make sure you know how to pronounce the word correctly. You know that whether it's an adjective, a noun, or a verb, you want to make sure you know the definition. You can add in some synonyms to help drive home the point. And then we always want to have an example sentence. So this is a good format for them to see, okay, these are the things that I'm going to need should I raise my hand to be the grammarian. The meeting roles continue. We have the general evaluator as well as the speech evaluator. And then I've added in a slide on just some key requirements for those roles. So there are roles that are a bit more difficult than others. So Toastmaster of the Day may not be the first role that that prospective member may want to take, just simply because they need to understand how the meeting flows. So I always like to give a couple of tidbits about some requirements and some thought-provoking items that they may want to think about as they're taking on a specific role. And I really always like to highlight the member, right? So that's the one that's in color and stands out on the page. So it's saying we really want you to be intentional. We want you to be engaged. We want you to be proactive and thinking about your advancement and signing up for roles, just so that reiterates and drives that point home that we made when we showed the Toastmasters promise of wanting them to be active members in our Toastmasters community that we call our clubs. The next slide is about mentorship. I know not all clubs have set up a formal mentor program, but it's nice to have a slide talking about what mentors can do if you do. So talking from the perspective of what a mentor is, and then looking at the protege or that prospective member and how they would fit into the scheme of things. I think this is a nice touch to add if you have built out your mentorship program or you're looking to do so, just so that new member is aware of that. We also have pathways. So again, making them know that they have 11 specialized paths that they can select. And on the right-hand side, showing them exactly how Toastmasters works along the Pathways Education Program. There's another slide that goes through in more detail the different levels. So again, talking about pathways and making sure we talk pathways up. This is our education system. This is how we get better at speaking. It should be something that we're positive and upbeat about, and letting them know that they're going to get a lot out of choosing and selecting their path. The next chart shows the road to DTM. So this is really beneficial. There are some members that really like to hit achievements. So this is a nice visual for them to see what they would need to do if they're interested in becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. It also shows just all of the requirements in between. So they can see, okay, I'll need to be a club officer. So let me start thinking about what that looks like, or a district officer. I found that this slide often comes with questions as well. So it creates some great dialogue with talking about what these things mean, especially our lovely acronyms that we have in Toastmasters. But it gets the wheels turning about what they can do as they're going along their journey. Now, the next couple of slides are getting started. So what I typically do when I'm doing new member orientation is get them selecting a path right there. So I like doing it either virtually, or if we're in person, with them having their laptop, so we can actually go into the welcome email if they haven't done that already, and we can get them started as we're talking. So the next couple of slides just go through how they can get started. So there's some screenshots here showing them how they can get into their profile, where they can go and open pathways, and how they can select their path. There's a slide that talks about the first project, their icebreaker. Another thing that I like to do in new member orientation is get a date on the calendar for their icebreaker. So while I have their full attention, I'll say, hey, have you thought about your icebreaker? When would you like to give it? Just because that creates that motivation for them to take that first step. Because oftentimes, if they hesitate and wait longer to do their icebreaker, they don't necessarily get as ingrained as quickly as if they jump in kind of head first. So I like to go ahead up front and get that date on the calendar, even if it's not the next meeting or 2 meetings after. I like for them to start thinking about that, and then I understand where they're at by the date that they select. If I get someone that says, oh, the next meeting is great for me, then I understand, okay, this person is really looking to grow quickly. How can I cultivate that? Or if I get someone that says, okay, maybe 4 or 5 months out, then I know there's some apprehension there, and there may be some inspiration and motivation that I need to do with that particular member. If there are any specific club policies or expectations that they have, it's really important to express those as well within the new member orientation. All of these or none of these may apply to your club, so you can take those with a grain of salt. But if there are things that you really want your new member to know, you want to make sure that you include it inside of your new member orientation. You also want to make sure they're aware of how they get in contact with other members of the club. Do you have a distribution list via email that they're going to be added to? Where's the club meeting at? So it's nice to have one slide that has your website on it, the Toastmasters International website, any newsletter that you may have, or any important information that's crucial at that present time that that member is getting oriented. So I would say add on any important information on this slide so they know firsthand how they're going to get outreaches from the club, how they can get in contact with the club members should they need to, and then what the next steps are moving forward. So last but not least, you want a slide really guiding them to the next steps. As I told you, I really liked for them to select their path and to get their icebreaker on the calendar during the new member orientation. Also setting up their first meeting role. So that could be something that you talk about on the slide. Timer is typically a great role for you to start off with when you're a brand new member. That helps you understand time management and it helps you understand the timing for all of the other roles as that particular member starts to sign up for those additional roles. You want to make them aware of when is the next meeting. I normally put the next 2 meetings so they have those dates and list, if I have that information in advance, who the Toastmaster of the day will be. So again, that they just have all that information at their disposal. And then I let them know that, hey, everything that we went over, you're going to get a copy of it. So this deck, any other pertinent information that may be vital to you being a member of our club are going to be placed in your hands, that you have these to go and read later on. I also always make sure I give time for them to ask whatever questions that they want. So there's normally a Q&A portion that's included in that new member orientation, just because those slides typically draw up some questions and sometimes concerns. And we want to make sure that we address those in the moment with those individuals. We also want to make sure to close with a thank you. Thank you so much for joining our club. We're so happy to have you. We can't tell you how excited we are. I can't explain to you how much excitement rubs off on other people. So just being thankful and grateful, it truly does do something to the person that you're talking to. So we want to make sure that we thank them for their time and for coming and being a member of our club. One of the ways that I remember the things that I should be doing in new member orientation is this particular approach with lead the way for our members. So one, we want to make sure we level set expectations. That's expectations of them and expectations of us as their support. We want to encourage them to action. So we need to fill out when we need to vol-inspire, as we like to call it, or when we need to allow them to come to the conclusion on their own. We want to alleviate any and all apprehension that they may have. We want to create a safe space. That's how you create active members to come. Make it a safe space for them to come and hone their skills and alleviate any nerves or apprehension that they may have. And then D, we have to deliver on the promise. If we tell them that they're going to come to a great club and they're going to get all these amazing things, then we need to make sure that our club quality is exactly that. And we're giving them what they paid for, and they don't feel as though they were gypped because they paid for what they're not getting. So that's helpful for us to remember that we need to make sure we need to deliver on what our new members have paid for. Any questions about the new member orientation? I know I went through that very quickly. It was a lot of slides and a lot of information. I want to stop there for a second and just see if there's any questions or comments. You can feel free to either drop those in the chat or come off to the mute and let me know. If not, we're going to keep on pushing. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, I do see one from Cheryl. Is a slide deck provided? I will make sure that you all get a copy of the new member orientation if you would like that as well. So I can provide that to you for you guys to update and change to your advantage for your club. So absolutely, Cheryl. All right, perfect. So we're going to move in then to talking about effective club meetings. So how many of you want to walk into a meeting, sit down, and it be like this the entire time? Raise your hand. If you want to be the only one sitting there doing all of the roles, speaker, evaluator, table. No one. I don't see any hands. I don't know why I am surprised that I don't see any hands. Nobody wants to go into a club meeting with that type of environment. Toastmasters was not built for a meeting to function and run with one individual person, not even two people. It's meant for us to really follow that format of having all of those roles filled and having active participation for those that do not have a particular meeting role during that particular meeting. So I want to hear from you all. What do you think makes a Toastmasters Club meeting ineffective? What makes it end up being that Lone Ranger that we saw in the previous slide? You can drop your comment either in the chat or come off of mute. Any thoughts? What makes an ineffective meeting? Not having roles assigned beforehand. Absolutely, Bettina. Absolutely. It's really difficult for the meeting to move smoothly if you don't have those roles assigned. Paula said not enough attendees. Absolutely. So if there's just two of you, it's going to be a really tough time making that meeting as effective as it can be. Same with Ann. Ann said not enough members. Absolutely. So if you don't have enough members participating. I know I've been to a club meeting where there were 8 guests and 2 members. So the 2 members were struggling to figure out how to make the meeting go around because you have all these great guests there. There's so much opportunity, but there was only 2 of them. And that makes it hard, right? Because you're trying to sell the Toastmasters experience to an extent. And I normally don't use that word. I normally say listening. So I'm in sales by day life at Bank of America. So typically I say I'm in the listening business. I'm listening out for a concern and I'm providing a solution. But it's hard when there's 8 of them and 2 of you and you're trying to run a club meeting, right? Ooh, zero enthusiasm, Sherelle, with a good one there. Absolutely. So if you're not excited, if I came on this call and I said, hey, everyone, we're going to talk about new member orientation, you guys wouldn't be excited about it. Why would you want to join if I'm not excited about what I'm doing? You have to show that enthusiasm in order for it to rub off on others. Poor meeting structure by Bill. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you don't have the meeting structured the way that it should be to facilitate good dialogue or have a great meeting. I like that. And then members have to double up on roles. Ooh, who can relate to that? Who's had to take on 2 or 3 roles? I'll raise my hand on that one because you haven't had enough people. So you're trying to remember, okay, wait, I'm evaluator and grammarian and I'm timer. So let me just make sure I got everything down packed, and stuff ends up falling by the wayside when you're doing that because you have your hand in all of the pots and all of the things. Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the top hurdles when it comes to having ineffective meetings. So one of the common hurdles is meetings do not have variety. So you do the same exact thing every single time. Now that may not sound too bad because Toastmasters has put together a structure for us to run our meetings, but we have to put in our own variety and our own spin. Every club has its own unique DNA, and you have to add that DNA into the club. So if you're a corporate club, maybe you do an event where you're talking about things in the corporate space. You're still using the Toastmasters format, but you're incorporating the DNA of the club inside of there. So that's what we mean when we say there's no variety. There's no adding in or moving forward. You're doing the same thing. It could be the same person as always Toastmaster of the day. The same person is always signing up for a speech. You never get to hear anyone else. So those things can dwindle the feeling that the meeting's effective. We had that in the chat, the second one in the chat, lack of member commitment. So there are times when we have people that don't want to sign up for roles. right? So we have someone doing multiple roles across multiple meetings. That's not beneficial. 3, club goals are not accomplished. So you're meeting, but no one's giving speeches. So there aren't any check marks going off on that DCP program, right? You're not getting new members. So you're not accomplishing what the goals that the club was set out to achieve. The 4th one is virtual meeting fatigue. That is now a thing with us being in the virtual world. Some people are tired of being in their little rectangle and they just don't want to participate. So you have to overcome that. That's a very common hurdle in having visited some clubs. People are just tired of seeing one another in the rectangle. They either want to see each other in person or they want to do something different than what they've been doing. And last but not least, you don't have any guests attending. So you don't have anyone that's coming into the club that's new and fresh and bringing new ideas. There's something to be said about someone coming into your club with a new lens and a fresh view. I think it adds a bit of spice to your clubs as well. So if you're not getting any guests, then you're not getting any new members and you're not accomplishing the membership goals that are set before you for and by World Headquarters. Can anybody relate to any of those goals? Drop in the chat if you can relate to any of those hurdles that you see on the screen there. Are there any that really resonate with you? Let's see here. There's 0 enthusiasm in there. I think that may have been previously. Lack of member commitment. Yes, Anne. Ew, that seems to be going around. We got 2 of those already. What else? And if they don't resonate with you, that's a great thing, actually. So I don't want you to feel like you have to drop anything in the chat. Just want to see amongst the group which ones that we can relate to. No guests. Yes, absolutely, Bettina. And lack of member commitment. Yep. Those seem to be the largest ones typically. Lack of commitment. Yep, it seems to be that overwhelmingly that one in the chat seems to be one that all of the clubs are kind of struggling with. So we want to talk about some ways that we can overcome that, and we're going to do that in groups. So we're going to do a breakout room activity about effective meetings. Here are just a couple of quick tips. I think we all, but at this point in our lives, are very familiar with Zoom and how it works, but there are some tips and tricks about the Zoom room. So here are the instructions for the activity. You're going to join your team in your breakout room. You're going to make sure you select a spokesperson. So that person is going to come out of the breakout room and they're going to tell all of the amazing best practices that you all discussed inside of your room. When you're in your room, you're going to brainstorm those best practices to address the assigned hurdle that I'm going to give to each of the rooms. Now, I want to make sure that you do realize that you want to be on task just simply because you have 10 minutes in order to accomplish this goal. So we want to make sure as soon as we get into that room, we want to make sure that we're working on our hurdles. Okay. Any questions by anyone before we get ready to open up the breakout rooms? Okay, so I'm going to do really quickly just an overview of which breakout room will have which activity. So if you want to take a screenshot of this slide, I'm going to stay on here for a minute or so, just because someone in your room needs to have this information so that once you go in and you see your number, you know which one that you're working on. So we're going to give about 30 seconds for everyone to take really quickly a screenshot, take a picture with your phone, whatever you need to do. Give it about 30 seconds there. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms. Again, you will have 10 minutes in there with your group, and I will see you all when you come out. Welcome back. I was telling Right, you all must have been having a great time in those breakout rooms. I don't think anyone came back early from the breakout room. I love it. That is a sign of some great conversation. I want to hear what you all talked about in your breakout room. So here's the listing again of all the rooms and all of their topics. I want to hear what best practices did you talk about to address the particular hurdle that was assigned to your group. So I'll first ask for volunteers before I start to volunteer. So do I have any rooms that want to go first? Oh, I saw a hand raised quick, and you were quick on the trigger. I don't think I got the whole sentence out. So we're going with Anne's group because Anne is ready to go, which is group 1. So Anne, are you the spokesperson? If you don't mind coming off of mute and just letting us know what you talked about.
Sorry about that. Okay, and Cassandra from our group also wanted to speak for a second. So what we decided was that meeting variety was good, and it was also good to have consistency and action. So how you would get that variety would be through inviting guest speakers, having themes of the day, utilizing the theme of the day with the table topics master and with the word of the day. We liked the idea of having months, like February was mentioned as the month of love, which is wonderful. One of the things that we didn't really get to discuss, but with new members, they are often afraid to step in and do things first because they don't know the words. So if you give new members script for the roles in the meeting, for the timer, for the grammarian, all of those very elementary things, they might have 2 or 3 instances of speaking before they can get to do their icebreaker. And that also helps break in new people and remove some of the monotony.
I love
Cassandra? Candace, what did I miss?
I think you got it all.
Oh,
You done well. You did it all.
Perfect. I love it. I think those were some great suggestions. If you all wouldn't mind just dropping those suggestions in the chat. A great feature about Zoom I love is that we can save the chat. So if you wouldn't mind typing in your hurdle and then what your best practices are, then everyone can save that chat at the end of the meeting and have all that amazing information. So thank you so much to room 1. I got a request for room 5 to go next. So I'm going to ask room 5 spokesperson to come off of mute and let us know what their best practices are for guests not attending.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paula. I'm representing room 5. I hope you guys hear me right. No problem,
I can
right?
hear you very well.
Great. First, I want to thank you, my room members. They gave me the opportunity to speak about what we have discussed. First, Mouse, I'm so sorry. So name, Mausia, do I pronounce your name correct? She helped to first clarify what the issue we're going to talk about. So we think that the question itself is like, well, how can we overcome the guests not attending issue? So I think first is how to attract guests, and the second is how to translate them into new members. That's how we understand this question. And Mark, our team member Mark, he suggested social media And specifically, he mentioned the meetup. So we should post on the meetup and reach the right group to attract new members. And we say that like, that's great advice. We should pay that for for it. So, and then we also mentioned that particularly for the club officials, and they have the enthusiasm to reach out to their personal network and also to their including friends and colleagues, be the face of the club. Another suggestion is if you wanted to attract new members, attract guests, you should set up the meeting time which is convenient for most of the members. But don't make members work too hard to attend. So I think that's what we have discussed. Hi, our Room 5 members, do you have anything to add on? Hello? Okay, I think.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Same to you. If you wouldn't mind dropping those great nuggets in the chat, that would be awesome. And great job to you, Room 5.
Great.
We have Room 3 that has raised their hand to go next. So Room 3, if you wouldn't mind your spokesperson coming off of mute and letting us know what you all discussed as the best practice. And let us know what your hurdle was as well.
Thank you, Tanisha. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruchi Gupta. Today is my very first day joining this club as a guest. And with the opportunity to discuss this topic, no goal accomplishments within my team, we had Karen and Fran. We discussed about this topic, no goal accomplishments. So we have discussed, we haven't experienced anything like that within the clubs. We made through every accomplishment, though with the help of follow-up, which is very important. And the second, mentorship. The clubs, they have the mentor group. That's the key to keep up with the accomplishments within the team members. Moreover, the personal touch is very important. And Karen, she shared her personal experiences as how she actually collaborate with members and help them personally if they wanted to achieve certain goals or pathways. Moreover, she shared one of the insights that they advertise in church about the club. And 10 of the members, they turn out to get the membership, but later, most of the time it happens like they always come and just practice what they already know, or just to get the gist of an idea, like, what they need to improve on. But few of the members turn to be a regular member, turn to be a member to that group. But so far, there's no goal accomplishments or hurdles, and we are successfully leading those groups or the teams. Thank you. Back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind as well, just dropping your best practices in the chat, that would be phenomenal. All right, next up we have Room 4. And I got to shout out Room 4 because they were mighty, but they were a bit tiny as well. We had some people that left the training. So there were only 2 people in this room, which I love the fact that they've come up with best practices. So Room 4, whenever you are ready, your spokesperson can come off of mute and let us know your best practices.
Thank you very much, Tanisha. My name is Sherelle Griffin, and hello, District 44 Toastmasters. Our hurdle, and that meaning Lee, Ice, and myself, is virtual meeting fatigue. We discussed what to do. And it's a great thing that the district gives us a lot of clues and hints how to get around this. Breakout rooms, for instance, you can break out into different rooms and have different discussions, particularly say if someone doesn't come for their speeches. We also have another way to deal with speeches. And we feel that probably people don't show up to do their speeches because they're suffering from the virtual meeting fatigue. We listen to the world champions of public speaking, and then a round robin is given of evaluation to the club members. This is very beneficial. One, it gets everyone involved. Two, it heightens their evaluation skills. And three, it actually helps Toastmasters with their future speeches. It kind of actually boosts them on. They get spurred on by these evaluations. Another wonderful thing that we have gleaned from the district, and that is activities. So there's games and icebreakers and brain breaks. I love this from Lee Ice. She says, you know, the routine can be wearing and tearing on everyone. So let's have a brain break. People can stand up and stretch, can have a different activity, anything at all, just to break the monotony of the routine. One of the things is that we're trying to keep people open-minded, just like she mentioned her third graders are, so that they can learn more and more from being Toastmasters. Thank you very much. Back to you, Tanisha.
Thank you, Sherelle. Thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind dropping your best practices in the chat, we would truly appreciate that. So last but not least, we have room 2. So can the spokesperson for room 2 come off of mute and just let us know your hurdle as well as your best practices? Do we have someone for room 2?
We actually didn't have a spokesperson for group 2,
Okay.
but we had some ideas that we spoke of.
Okay. Do you want to let us know a couple of those ideas?
Sure.
Awesome.
One member spoke of the members are engaging every week they have a speaker. It's engaging the members. The constant members are they're sometimes find themselves overcommitting, like the leaders in the group are overcommitting themselves. The good things are they have meeting variety, consistency in action, themes, guest speakers. They spoke of also capturing audience and guests, and things to intrigue members and guests for the meetings.
Perfect. I love all of those. So if one of you would not mind dropping your suggestions in the chat, I think that would be great for everyone to have as well. So awesome. Round of applause to you all for putting together some great best practices. Make sure that you save that chat just in case your club may be suffering from one or more, or maybe none of those, but you always have those best practices in your back pocket in case you need them. I know we're a couple minutes over, so if you all would not mind giving me about 5 more minutes, I do want to make sure I touch on the beyond, right? So this training was called the Club Level and Beyond, and I really wanted to talk to you all about district leadership. Now, we recited the district mission at the top of this training. So we build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. I wanted to talk about in just a couple of slides what that looks like from the club level all the way up to the region level. So we're all very much aware of the club officer roles. We also have area and division directors. So those are what we call the boots on the ground that gets to connect with the clubs and make sure that you all have what you need. And then we have what we call the senior 7. So those are those first 7 roles: the district director, program quality director, club growth director. We also have a public relations manager, a finance manager, an admin manager, as well as a logistics manager within the district. And then that goes on to the region advisor. So the region advisor has governance over several districts. And then we also have an international director. So I wanted to show this slide simply because there are so many opportunities for you to hone your leadership skills that are naturally built into the Toastmasters leadership hierarchy. One of the things that I learned was that I began to speak more the more I led. So as I was visiting clubs as an area director, that was when I got my DTM, because I was always somewhere visiting someone's club. They always were open to me being a speaker there, and I was able to move through my program and my curriculum just by being in that leadership position. So I want to make sure that you all keep the leadership aspect of Toastmasters in mind. It could be just as beneficial as you're honing your communication skills. And even if you're looking at these roles on the screen and saying, I don't know if I can be an area director, or I don't know if I could be a division director, I'm not sure about that. I want you to always remember that we also have committees. So there are a myriad of committees on the district that you can join and still get that leadership experience as well. So as you can see, this is just 10 of them. It isn't even all encompassing. We still have other committees and roles, such as our credentials chair. We have an audit committee chair, a parliamentarian. We even have a district tech master this year. So we have someone that's over the tech as we're going through and doing more hybrid meetings throughout the district. So keep in mind, if you don't feel like you're ready to make that jump to an area or division director or one of the senior 7, there are so many more and other opportunities for you to serve in district leadership on the committees that we have as well. So, well, I did want to make sure that you guys have all the contact information for the Club Growth team. As I mentioned earlier, you will be receiving this deck, so you will have all this information in hand, but I wanted to make sure that you had all the email addresses where you can contact us. If you had any questions about club retention or club quality, or if you were thinking about starting a club somewhere in your place of business or in your personal life, you wanted to make sure that you had that information. So I'm going to move on to closing remarks. So what I want you all to do for me is place in the chat one thing that you learned during this session that you're going to take back to your club. So again, put in the chat, what's something that you learned that you thought, hey, my club will really benefit by making sure that we take this back and we spread this across our club. While you're doing that, I'm going to go over our announcements. So we have a couple of different events that are coming up that I wanted to make you aware of. One, we have an event called Create to Elevate. We're inviting all of our new club leads to this particular event. So these are individuals that are looking or have thought about starting a new Toastmasters club. And we're doing a presentation on how fabulous Toastmasters is and how it can be beneficial to that person's community or their workplace. So if you know someone that's been thinking about starting a club, or you're someone that's thinking about starting a club, you really love to have you at that event and join us. We also have a forward focused event. That is our focus group event that we're doing every quarter. So the thing that we'll be talking about in this forward focus is corporate clubs. So talking through what are the struggles that corporate clubs are experiencing and how the district can help. So if you're a part of a corporate club and you want to come and just express the things that you may be struggling with or opportunities that we can help you with, we would love to have you there. And then I'm actually going to turn over the platform to our program quality director if he is still on the line. Rod, are you still out there?
Yes, I am here.
Perfect. This is a great time for me to introduce you in your recognition as a dignitary, because the last event that I have listed on our announcement is our virtual winter TLI, and I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to talk about that with the group.
Hey everyone, so I am Rod Alexander. I'm the Program Quality Director for our district, which is a big fancy title for VPE. I call myself the king of VPEs because I'm pretty much the VPE for the district. But part of my role is planning our club officer training, which we call TLI, Toastmasters Leadership Institute. And next month on December the 10th, which is a Saturday, we have our winter TLI. And this is going to be a very special TLI because we have our international president, Matt Kinsey, who will be our keynote speaker. So this is going to be a great time. He's going to have an opportunity for some Q&A as well. So you'll get a chance to hear our Toastmasters International President deliver a keynote speech. It's open to anyone, whether you're a club officer or a club member. So it's free, it's virtual. You can do it from the bed. You don't even have to put on your regular clothes. You can do it in your PJs. Join us. It's going to be an awesome time. And I look forward to seeing you. And one last thing I did drop in the chat for those who may be interested. Very, very soon, we will be doing an announcement about our annual conference, which is happening in May. And we need volunteers. So if you're looking to see what it's like to work behind the scenes on a district event, this will be a great opportunity to see what that's like by volunteering for our District 44 annual conference. That's it for me. Hope to see you all at one of these events, and so glad that you all were able to be here with us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rod. And conference was one of those committees that was listed on that district leadership opportunity. So please take advantage of that. Again, I'm a true advocate for the leadership development that we have within the program, and would love to see you all reaching your fullest potential through honing those skills. Well, awesome. I want to thank you all so very much for your time. I also want to introduce one more dignitary that we have on the line. We are blessed to have our finance manager, Fran Ellis, DTM, that is on the line with us. So Fran, do you want to come off of mute and say anything to the group?
Well, thank you, Tanisha. I think this was wonderful. I just kind of happened across an old email, and I thought, I don't remember if I signed up for this, but I really want to hear it. And it's been great so far. I think that what I took away from it is my new member orientation needs updating, and we can do that now. So I enjoyed it very much, and I'm happy to see as many people on here as there were. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Fran. And thank you everyone for joining us. Again, your time is precious, right? We can't get that back. So we truly do not take for granted the opportunity that you spend coming out and meeting with the district and hearing about the events and the education that we have going on. If you have any questions, you can always reach me at cgd@d44toastmasters.org. That is the email address if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And as mentioned previously, I will make sure that you all get this presentation, and the recording will actually be posted on our YouTube channel as well. So if there are other officers within your club that you think might be beneficial for them to listen in on this recording, it will be made available for you there. So again, thank you so much. And I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Until next time, everyone.
Bye. Have a good night.